Welcome to the Chinese bass pickup mod. This mod is for the small humbucker neck pickup found on these basses. To widen the reach of the magnetic field and better cover the E and G strings. Zero mod assumes no responsibility for the results, and you attempt at your own risk. As you may or may not have noticed, the small neck pickup is weak on the E and G strings. This is the result of sticking to the Rickenbacker form factor, but using a wider fingerboard and wider string spacing, leaving the E and G strings out of the range of what is otherwise a pretty good sounding pickup. I found that a couple of small pieces of coat hanger wire or any other soft steel can be used to coax out the magnetic field. You can experiment for yourself with your bass by getting an old coat hanger and cutting 2 lengths of wire from it, straight and clean pieces, 62 millimeters long, and let them rest right on top of the pole bars of your neck pickup. They'll be pulled into place by the magnets and sit pretty much where they should be. Then adjust the pickup height downwards to compensate for the height of the bars, and you can see if this effect applies to your neck pickup and improves the response of the E and G strings before you go forward with taking apart your whole bass and taking apart your pickup, which is quite a lot of work. I recommend this as a good preliminary experiment to see if this will produce an improvement in your situation. I found it brought quite a bit better focus and volume on the G and E strings, so I proceeded to mount the 63 millimeter wire pieces internally in the pickup. This requires disassembly of the pickup. You need to have some experience and expertise with this kind of thing, or you'll probably ruin your pickup. So I suggest you find a friend or go to somebody that does this kind of thing as a hobby or a job. Pickups are pretty delicate. Here you see the pickup removed from the pick guard and flipped over. You can see the brass backing plate and the 2 solder blobs on either side. Notice they're marked with the blue arrows. Those have to be cut or desoldered away to remove the cover. The cover will still be held on by the paraffin, but it'll work loose with a little bit of effort once you've completely cut through or desoldered those solder joints that are holding the cover on. Okay, we have the bottom plate dropping off, and you can see the paraffin and the bobbin coils soaked in paraffin. Work the cover off. Then you'll see the black plastic that makes for the faux toaster slot cover, which doesn't really have any effect on anything sound-wise. It's just there for looks. Looks better than bare metal showing through the cover. Now we come to the part you may or may not want to pursue, which is reversing the phase of the pickup. Every one of these basses I've seen, the neck pickup is out of phase with the bridge pickup, which seems to be a Chinese preference, almost on purpose. They seem to believe the middle position of the switch should be an out of phase sound, where in point of fact it rarely is. It certainly isn't on any Gibson, Fender, or Rickenbacker. So if you want it to sound a little more realistic and have more of a full-bodied tone in the middle position, it's a good idea to reverse the phase on this neck pickup. You'll see in the following illustrations how to cut the 2 bobbin wires and switch them from ground to hot. The 2 bobbins are wired in series, which is typical for any humbucker. You simply want to switch the bobbin wire that is grounded with the bobbin wire that is the hot or signal lead. That's all you're trying to do in this stage, which you may or may not want to do, so you can just ignore this if you don't have an interest in reversing the out-of-phase situation. Time to take the bars that you've cut to about 62, 63 millimeters, whatever fits correctly on top of the pole bar and what clears the cover without binding or keeping the pickup from going back together. It's going to go on the magnetic pole of the pickup under that black plastic. That black plastic will still be what shows up on the top, just like it always did when you put the pickup back together. Then you got to position the bars. I added a spacer just to make things go smoothly, but you don't necessarily have to do that. The magnets draw the bars pretty tightly into position. Some people may want to grind a flat spot on the bars to get better contact, but I didn't find it necessary. It would only improve things if you did. Now that you have that done, it's time to reassemble. You can try to save as much paraffin as you want so it goes back together cleanly, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to have to repot the pickup. Repotting is essential to prevent microphonics, so you don't have to get too crazy trying to keep all that paraffin there for the reassembly. Okay, now we're ready to pot the pickup. We have a double boiler set up on the stove here. Use a candy thermometer, not a meat thermometer. You need to get the paraffin up to 150 degrees. Can't stress enough the need for a double boiler. You can't just stick paraffin in a pot and cook it up. Very dangerous. Pot of water, inner pot with the paraffin. Get the paraffin liquid up to 150 degrees. Drop your pickup in upside down so the air can escape around the edges of the back plate. You can use dental floss or thread or string to drop the pickup down into the paraffin. Get it down so it's under the surface and let it sit. I've been told it doesn't matter. It can stay in there quite a while because it's not hot enough to hurt the wiring, but I just keep mine in long enough to where there's no more air bubbles coming out. Waggle it around a bit. And once I'm pretty sure there's no more air bubbles, I bring the pickup back up out of the paraffin, keep it upside down, and hang it somewhere where it can dry till it's room temperature. Don't try to touch it when it comes out of that pot. It will be quite toasty. Let it get back down to room temperature, and then you can use a soft cloth like an old sock or something to wipe off all the excess paraffin, because there's going to be paraffin all over the place. It's harmless, but it's annoying, so wipe it off. And then you're ready to reassemble and listen to your pickup. Now, to follow up, we're going to have some demo sound file showing the level differences that we achieved with this modification.